And to follow up on some of what you said, especially this idea of knowing when to step in, knowing when to step out, it's clear that your father was really masterful in his understanding of people, right? And that's why if you're looking at the connection, how can you run a football team then go be an ambassador? Well, what's the commonality? It's you're dealing with people and their passions and their inherited centuries old beliefs and ways of life. And I'm just wondering if either from his stories or your experience in consulting, can you develop those sort of people skills? Because I think some of us have a feeling that those are maybe, you're either born with it or you're not. We look at people who have those skills and they seem so natural. It seems like I could never be like that. I'm wondering if, when you work with organizations or leaders, how do you develop that side of things that sometimes just seems like you either got it or you don't?
That's a great question. I mean, the short answer is I believe absolutely. I guess the problem is it's hard. The most important thing for people, the most important thing my father would talk about, in a culture, and he wouldn't always use these terms, but is self-accountability, and is someone willing to self-reflect. And I think so often leaders make a lot of money, owners of these teams have billions of dollars, and coaches, all of the Steelers coaches in my life, I love them all, but all of them were a little bit hard-headed. But I think that they had enough sense of this idea of self-reflection, that you're willing to look at yourself, willing to look at what part you played, willing to look at, where did you let your emotions get the best of you? Where did conditions, they were tiring you out, you were too frustrated, you didn't make the best decision. Maybe you didn't, do all the research you should have. People's willingness to look at themselves and then be accountable is the element that allows them to increase their ability to work with other people. Because my father, his biggest strength, if you will, was building teams and hiring. And, we had 3 coaches in 50 years. As you know, we're at 50, I think this will be the 52nd year with just 3 coaches. Many teams have 3 coaches in one season, certainly in 3 seasons. And what my father did, and we can talk about the Mike Tomlin case in greater detail, because I think it's an interesting case in terms of hiring and the competency of hiring. But in the process of the interviews, he spent then, and he spends a lot of time talking to people about the relationships that are important to them, and how do they reflect on the relationship with their mother, with their wife, with their children, with other coaches and mentors they've had. And the cues come about as to, do they use words like I or we? Do they talk in terms of respect and agency of that person, or do you get a sense that they're treating them like an object, and that the relationship was about from a utilitarian point of view? And my father was really adept at sort of getting into those conversations, bringing people into social situations, and really identifying, would they be able to either have or deploy some of those people skills. So I know that's a long-winded answer to your question, but what I'm trying to say is there has to be accountability, and there has to be some degree of self-reflection, for then you can build that up to the, one-on-one level. Are you going to be honest in a conversation with me? And then on the team level, are you going to really look to build unity, or are you sort of self-interested?